Hey, good evening. Welcome. My name is Jessica Burns, and I'm the president of the Mint Hill Women's Club. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. The Mint Hill Women's Club, they host this event every year that we have an election year, and it's a great service for the public. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening tonight to join us. A special thank you to all the candidates that are here this evening. Thank you to Paige McKinney with the Chamber. She is serving tonight as our timekeeper. Thank you for the Town Hall for letting us use your facility tonight. And thank you to one of our members. She is unable to be here tonight, but Kathy Coles took a lot of time to organize this event for us tonight. So thank you to her. And let's see, who am I forgetting? I'm sure I'm forgetting someone because that's kind of my stick here. But if I remember, I'll get back to that. But thank you so much for taking time tonight. This is a really important event for you to come and hear from the candidates and meet them and get your answers. So, I know who I forgot. Our moderator, our special guest tonight, Suzanne Aylesbury. She is here tonight. She is serving as the second term for the president of the League of Women Voters in North Carolina. So thank you so much, Suzanne, for coming. And if you would, please come on up.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Nonpartisan Candidate Forum for the Board of Commissioners municipal election to be held on November the 7th, 2023, in which voters in Mint Hill will choose 4 out of the 5 candidates running for 2-year terms. Tonight's nonpartisan event is sponsored by the Mint Hill Women's Club. I am Suzanne Aylesbury, president of the League of Women Voters Charlotte-Mecklenburg, and serving as the forum moderator. The League is a 100-year-old nonpartisan organization of men and women committed to protecting and empowering the vote. We have a long history of ensuring fair, nonpartisan candidate forums and debates, and are extremely proud to participate this evening. The forum timekeeper this evening is Paige McKinney, and Paige is right over there. And I think all the candidates can see her. And she's the director of the Mint Hill Chamber of Commerce. In a free democracy, it is vital for voters to choose their representatives and for candidates to make their positions available to them. This evening's candidate forum is not only a sign of courtesy to voters, but also a sign of a healthy democratic process. We hope you will gain the information you need to help determine your votes in the upcoming election. And now to the ground rules for the forum. Please silence your iPhones during the program as a courtesy to everyone. The questions for the candidates have been submitted by members of the public, and we will get to as many as time permits. Each candidate will be asked the same number of questions, and the same question will be directed to all candidates present. No question will be directed to only one candidate or ever be of a personal nature. Each candidate is allowed a 1-minute introduction of their candidacy before the questioning round begins. During the question round, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. After the question round is complete, candidates will have 30 seconds for their respective closing comments. We ask that the time be used to summarize the issues already discussed and their vision for the position they seek. I will rotate the order of candidates for the opening statements, questions, and closing comments. During the opening statements and questions, the timekeeper will hold up a yellow card after 30 seconds has elapsed, and a red card when the allotted minute has expired. During the closing statements, the timekeeper will hold up a yellow card when 15 seconds has passed, and a red card after 30. After a red card, a candidate will be allowed to finish their sentence. But if a candidate exceeds this limit, I'll have to interrupt. The candidates here tonight competing for the Mint Hill Board of Commissioners are Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioner Dale Dalton, Commissioner Twana Henderson, Commissioner Patrick Holton, Commissioner Tony Long, and Matthew Swobel. The candidate for mayor, Mayor Brad Simmons, is unopposed and therefore will not participate in the questioning round. But I would like to have him begin the opening comments. And Mayor Simmons, you get a whole minute.
Thank you. Normally when I'm sitting here, I get longer than that, but I'm fine with that this evening. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. I'm Brad Simmons. I'm a two-term mayor here in Mint Hill, seeking my third term as mayor. My wife and I moved here in 1984, and we raised our two children here in Mint Hill, Danielle and Daryl. And I just happened a little tidbit of information I found when I was cleaning some stuff out at the desk today. My first term of serving the public here in Mint Hill was October 19th of 1999, when I came on the Park and Rec Board at that time. So I've been blessed enough to serve the citizens of Mint Hill since the late 1990s, and would appreciate your vote in the coming election. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we will begin with our first candidate, Dale Dalton, for your opening remarks, and you have a minute, which begins now.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you and the Women's Club for coming out tonight, and especially all the participants and the ones that sent in questions. I'd like to thank my wife, Pam, for being here and being my biggest supporter. We moved here about 12, 13 years ago from Matthews, and we had one daughter, Jessica, who's married to Dr. Christopher Cawley, who live in Richmond, and I have a grandson named William I'm extremely proud of, and I am currently serving my second term as Mayor Pro Tem, which is a very, very good honor for me. I really do like that. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Ms. Twana Henderson.
Thank you.
You have a minute for your introduction. It begins
Thank you.
now.
To Madam Moderator Suzanne Ellsbury, to the Mecklenburg County chapter of the League of Women Voters, to the Mint Hill Women's Club and Madam President Jessica Burns, and to the attendees who are here in person and those who are streaming. Thank you for your time this evening. Again, my name is Twana Henderson. I'm running for re-election to the Mint Hill Board of Commissioners. I believe that I am competent, experienced, and uniquely qualified to continue serving as a commissioner. I'm a product of the CMS public school system and a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill and the NCCU School of Law. I am a North Carolina licensed attorney who knows how to ask the right questions. Over the past 2 years of serving, I've had the privilege to engage with some phenomenal Mint Hill residents and some dedicated Mint Hill business owners. I'm married to my husband, who's here, of 25 years and 10 months. And we have a son who has autism, who is a joy of our lives. We've lived in Mint Hill for 8 years. Thank you for having us this evening, and I look forward to continuing to serve the residents of our town.
Thank you. And next we go to Patrick Holton.
Hi, I'm Patrick Holton. Thank you to the Mint Hill Women's Club, the League of Women Voters, everybody that showed up here tonight, everybody that's streaming. I'm a small business owner in town. This is my second term as commissioner, and I look forward to the opportunity to hopefully to continue serving. I'm extremely blessed to be able to live in a town with such great people that I can live, work, and play in. And I hope we have a great night tonight. Everybody enjoy.
Thank you. And next we have Tony Long for your opening statements. You have a minute.
Thank you, ma'am. I wish to thank the Mint Hill Women's Club for hosting this. Gives us an opportunity to know each other better. And I appreciate all of you that took your time out to be here. This is what makes a republic work, are the citizens' involvement. I've lived here 50 plus years. I first volunteered in the town in 1987 at a Mint Hill Madness. I've served on the planning board and on my second term here as a commissioner. Most humbled to serve you guys. Look for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last candidate we have to do opening remarks is Matthew Swobel.
Hello, my name is Matthew Schwabel.
Oh, sorry.
My name is Matthew Schwabel. I've been in Mint Hill my entire life, born and raised. Met my wife here. We started a family together here, have a kid here. I look forward to serving. I want to thank everybody for coming out. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll now begin the question segment of the forum. The candidates will have 1 minute for their answers. First question goes to Ms. Henderson. Considering the number of new homes and townhomes currently under construction, and specifically the proposed 16,000 square foot bilingual church proposed for Bartlett Road, are you concerned about the roads being able to accommodate the increased traffic? Please explain your answer. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. Let me say that my goal is really to see Mint Hill to maintain its historic character and a sense of community, yet sustaining a prosperous economy. And it's going to be important for us just to have a cross-representation of residents who lends a voice to the planning of the future of our town. That's one of the reasons why we had the land use plan. And residents were able to share their concerns. We have to plan. If we fail to plan, then we plan to fail. So any successful community is, or corporation or entity, plans for the future. And so we always need to, we can look at the challenges, but I believe that if we see opportunity in every difficulty, we can move forward in a thriving future.
Thank you. Next, we go to Patrick Holton for your question. Same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Sure.
Okay. Considering the number of new homes and townhomes currently under construction, and specifically the proposed 16,000 square foot bilingual church proposed for Bartlett Road, are you concerned about the roads being able to accommodate the increased traffic? And please explain your answer.
I'm very concerned about the traffic, and I think a lot of it is not only just homes that have been approved by the board, but also by right building, and that's something that the board now and future boards need to look at. I made my concerns very clear during the public hearing for the church about whether that particular road could handle it, and I think that that's why it was put into recess, so they could get some more information from DOT before we could proceed on with it. So if elected, that's one thing that I'd like, definitely to focus on with any potential projects coming into town is, can we handle it? Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we go to Mr. Long for the same question.
Yes, ma'am. It's an excellent question. Having lived here over 50 years, I've seen much changes. We've turned down a good many projects in the last 12 months. So yes, many homes are being built, and yes, there's a new church proposed. The use of a church typically is 1 or 2 days a week for a short period of time. I think, as the mayor has alluded sometimes during our meetings, I am the roads person. When someone comes wanting a home or a development put in, the first thing I'm going to ask is, what are you doing to improve our roads? Turn lanes, decel lanes, and that sort of thing. Our hands are tied many times because North Carolina Department of Transportation controls the roads, many of them in Mint Hill. We do our part, as Patrick says.
Thank you. And Mr. Swable?
Yes, I'm concerned with the roads. The roads we have now already can't handle the traffic that we have. Trying to go from point A to point B is already a nightmare. So with the new homes and the new development of the church, we need to make the roads better before we can do anything else.
Okay, thank you. Next question. The town of Mint Hill, I'm sorry, I forgot Mr. Dalton. Sorry. Too anxious tonight.
Yes, we have a traffic problem, and I'm on a liaison between CARPO, Charlotte Regional Transportation. That is a problem that all towns are facing throughout North Carolina. And the bigger problem for Mint Hill in that is the majority of our roads are state-owned roads, so we really don't have any say on having those roads done. We can make suggestions, and I ask people all the time, we're one voice when we call the state. If the community would call the state or their legislature and say, hey, we've got some problems and issues, that would be a lot better situation. And another problem we have is with Cabarrus and Union County, if they're building and them coming into working into Charlotte using Mint Hill as they pass through, that's a lot of our traffic comes up through Lawyers, Idlewild, and Albemarle comes up through 51.
Okay, thank you. Now for the second question, and it goes to Mr. Holton. The question is, the town of Mint Hill has received over $18 million for projects and groups based in Mint Hill, more than any other town in Mecklenburg County, due to Tricia Cottom's party affiliation switch. In your opinion, how will this money be spent or allocated? You have a minute, Mr. Holton.
I think improving facilities and community centers here for the town, for the people, is definitely a must. It's really hard to say how you're going to spend money that you haven't gotten yet. I know it's been proposed, but I don't think we've gotten a check or anything yet, so it's hard to say how I would spend it, but hypothetically, we just did a phenomenal project with the parks, but we do need a community center. So that's definitely something I'd like to see done. We need parking. That's something I'd like to see done. I'd like to see a bigger library, bigger expansion, and a learning center. So,
Thank you. Checks in the mail, right? Okay. Mr. Swable?
I would like to see a community center for how to spend it, but I mean, honestly, it would be how the people want to spend it. It'd be nice to put out a form there on the social medias, and let's see how they want to spend the money that's being given to the town. Since it's not my money and it's the town's money, the people of the town should be the ones to decide how it should be spent, not me.
Thank you. And Mr. Long, same question?
Yes, ma'am, and I would echo much of what Patrick said. We do not have the money yet. There's been some discussion on how it will be dispersed. There are many organizations in our community that serve the citizens, and I'm certain some of that will go to them, whether it be for youth or elderly or quality of life improvement on certain areas. And I will say, Ms. Cawthon was a Democrat in January, and I sat with her at a table, and she worked just as hard then as she did to get this grant. I think she was representing the town of Mint Hill.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Dalton?
Again, the money has not been given to us or received it yet. Most people have that made a request, have it allocated how they would like to go to. I know the the Chamber of Commerce is getting some, Servants Heart. It's already going to be able to distribute it through the town. A community center would be very nice here in Mint Hill. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And the last person to answer is Ms. Henderson.
Thank you. I would also just sort of piggyback on what some of the others have said as it relates to a community center and also a senior center. The average age of individuals in Mint Hill is over 50. And so a senior center would be something that would be extremely important to have in our community, as well as looking at ways to be able to support our neighborhoods. So looking at just a way to support from a standpoint of how it's going to help the residents, but definitely a senior center and looking at how we can support our neighborhoods in various ways.
Okay, thank you. All right. Third question. Could you give us your breakdown on how tax dollars are allocated into the town budget? In addition, why do Mint Hill residents pay a transportation tax, and what is derived from this tax? And we start with Mr. Long. You have a minute.
I have seen those numbers. I cannot quote them to you verbatim here tonight. It is public knowledge, so it's available. You can get it through Town Hall, certainly. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, all right. And Mr. Swable, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes.
Okay. Could you give us your breakdown on how tax dollars are allocated into the town budget? In addition, why do Mint Hill residents pay a transportation tax, and what is derived from this tax?
I personally cannot answer that question because I personally do not know. That's the reason why I'm running, is so I can learn to find out where our stuff's going.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dalton?
Yes. The biggest portion of our budget goes to our fire and police. And then as far as the transportation, we get 3 buses from Charlotte and back each week, or each day. So personally, I do not feel that we are getting our money's worth out of that. We have looked at other options. I know there's some things in the background that we can't even speak of right now that is being worked on between the other towns and Charlotte about maybe reducing some of that cost to the towns.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Henderson, same question.
I also want to reiterate that our tax dollars are spent, a portion for fire and police. And with that, we are fortunate to live in a town where crime is very low in Mint Hill. And we have a phenomenal police department that really supports the citizens and makes sure that we live in a safe community, which is so huge. I think that's one of the reasons why so many of us live here in Mint Hill, because we don't want some of the issues that some of our surrounding areas have. And a large part of that is due to the support that we get and the safety that we have through our police department, our fire department, and all of the sources that we have.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Holton?
So I pay taxes just like everybody in this room, and one thing that I don't worry about is where that money's going. I see it. I see the phenomenal first responders that we have out there. I'm not concerned about my safety. I see our public works department out there cleaning up the parks, keeping everything straight, the staff here at Town Hall. So my tax dollars, I don't worry about where that's going. I know it's going to good use. As far as the transportation tax goes, I think we are paying a tax that we're not getting our money out of. And I think that there is a process in place that's being worked on right now to enhance our public transportation here in Mint Hill.
Thank you. All right. Next question. How do you propose to address Mint Hill's diverse population to ensure equity and inclusion, making all members of the community feel welcomed? And this question goes to Mr. Swable first.
Honestly, I couldn't answer that because I'm not diverse. You would have to get a group of diverse people together to come to a committee and ask them that question so they could be the ones to make Mint Hill more diverse, so they would feel welcome to come to Mint Hill. But me, honestly, I don't know where to start.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dalton, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, it's good.
Okay, you're good.
Mint Hill over the last few years has become, to me, very diverse. Mint Hill is still primarily a white town, but the African American, the Hispanic, the Asian, the Russian, the Ukrainians, I have seen a lot of that, and a lot of that group of people moving into Mint Hill, especially in the last couple of years. I've got a Russian family and a Ukrainian family on the street that I live on that wasn't there 2 years ago. As far as making people change their heart or how they receive people, to me, that's a heart issue. You have to look in yourself to do that. We had that same question last time when we ran. I was thrown a little bit on a curve, after that, I reached out to Ms. Henderson, and I spoke to her about it, and she told me, she said, best answer is say, I'm trying to work with people.
Thank you. Ms. Henderson, speaking of Ms. Henderson.
Well, I think that it's going to be important to have a sense of engagement and connection. Mint Hill is growing, it is diverse, and I think it's so important to get all parts of our community involved in various aspects, to hear all aspects. You know, one of the slogans, if you will, if I call it a slogan, that I've kind of championed over the past 2 years is better together, that we are better together because we are one community. Everybody who lives in Mint Hill lives in Mint Hill because we want to be in Mint Hill. We like it here, we love it here. And I think that our role, the role of our commissioners, is to represent everyone who lives here.
Thank you. And Mr. Holton?
So oddly enough, this was something that I noticed at the last Mint Hill Family Fun Night at the park, was how diverse the crowd was. And you have to look at diversity. I look at diversity as a lot of different things too, because it's not just a race thing. It's also LGBTQ plus, and you can see the changing of Mint Hill. It is evolving. And I'm trying to educate myself as it goes and basically evolve with it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Long?
Great question. One of my favorite subjects is cultures and how we're shifting as a culture. My business, probably 85% of the people enter my business were not born here, typically don't speak the language I do. So I live it every day. Recently interviewed a next-door neighbor who just moved in who didn't speak the language I speak, and we had a long conversation. I welcomed him to the neighborhood. I'm also in some of my volunteer work, I do teaching. Right now, I'm teaching a lady from Yemen and a lady from Vietnam who were brought to America to get away from abuse. And so I'm trying to just live it and reach out to other humans. That's all we are. As Commissioner Henderson said, we all want to live in a safe place, a good quality of life.
Thank you. Next question. How do you view nonprofit organizations, and do you favor the town of Mint Hills giving grants to nonprofits? And we take this question to Mr. Dalton.
Obviously, we're in favor of it as a town. We have, ever since I've been a commissioner, we set aside funding for the nonprofit organizations. And we treat each one on their own merits. What we do want to look at is this something that they're offering to the citizens of Mint Hill that the town does not provide? And also, you got to be a little careful on, are you providing funds for a nonprofit that could go against a person who's actually in business, has a brick and mortar building and trying to make payments and payroll too, and not putting them out of business?
Thank you. And this question goes next to Ms. Henderson.
I think that nonprofits are extremely important to our community. The nonprofits that we support are those who lend support in areas from food to people who have food desert areas, counseling services, and even the arts, because even when we think about how children need to engage and how they need to express themselves, the arts is one of the ways that they're able to do that. And so, so there's definitely a benefit to supporting nonprofits, and it's something that really helps to benefit our community as a whole.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Holton, same question.
So, like they said, we have some wonderful nonprofits here. So since being elected, 2 terms ago, the first thing, I wanted to learn more about these nonprofits. And I think based on my recommendation, we changed the vetting process this past year on dispersing those funds. And that was so the board, the mayor, and staff can learn more about these nonprofits, where these funds are going, how they're being used in the community, and not just writing checks and giving them out. So, like I said, I think we've got some phenomenal nonprofits here, and they're doing great things in our community.
Thank you. And Mr. Long?
I would agree with what's been said. Many times a nonprofit can provide a service to the citizens at a much more fair and equal and less expensive way to do it. And we're seeing that. We've seen it for years in Mint Hill, the Mint Hill Athletic Association, which is a nonprofit serving youth. And we certainly couldn't have a park and rec department for what bit of money they get. So that's living proof to me. We do review this each year at Town Hall, which gives us better oversight, as Patrick mentioned, of what is going on. This keeps our tax rates low compared to our citizens around us and other communities, Mooresville, Pineville, and places of that sort.
Thank you. And Mr. Swable?
I think the nonprofits are great. They help out the community. For example, I'm a landscaper. There's a nonprofit called 1 Yard Away. They help out people who are in need. I have no problem with that. If somebody's in need and the nonprofit's able to help them out, then that's more power to them. I think the town should support the nonprofits as long as the nonprofit is supporting the town.
Thank you. Next question. In what ways should Mint Hill support local businesses? And that question goes first to Ms. Henderson.
Well, I believe that local businesses are part of what helps to sustain our community. I think that when we have a vibrant community with businesses, for-profit and nonprofit, it helps to stimulate the economy of our community. I've had the opportunity to meet various Mint Hill business owners over the past 2 years that I did not previously know. And these are individuals who are committed to this town, who are seeking to employ people, some who live in this town. And so supporting businesses who are in Mint Hill has been something that I think has helped to make our town more vibrant.
Thank you. Mr. Holton?
So as a small business owner here in town, I can tell you firsthand that this town supports me. The people in this town are phenomenal. They believe in shopping local. They believe in staying local. I see it every day. The town itself is great as far as Mint Hill events, supporting. We just had the huge Madness pop-up last weekend, and there was a lot of local small businesses out there. Our local Chamber of Commerce also, as far as for networking and helping local businesses here. So I think Mint Hill is definitely doing an exceptional job as far as supporting our small businesses here.
Mr. Long?
Yes, ma'am. As a owner of a small business, I agree completely with what Patrick says. We employ local staff, we collect taxes that we send off to the government. More importantly, we offer opportunities for youth. I watch my sister, who owns Daphne's Bakery, run young ladies through there when they're going from high school to college. She knows it's like the Navy, it's a revolving door. She's going to have them for a month, 6 months, or a year, but they're learning life skills, they're learning small business skills, and they're getting to interact with the public, and it's amazing what we're doing as a town to help the next generation through our businesses.
Okay, and then same question, Mr. Swable?
First, Mint Hill can help support the Chamber of Commerce because the Chamber is what supports all the businesses, brick and mortar and not brick and mortar. As a landscaper who is not brick and mortar, I feel that Mint Hill does not support us as much. The rules and regulations that we have to abide by for our businesses being at our home are a lot more strict. and a lot harder to abide by, especially as a landscaper whose truck and trailer is not allowed to be in the front of the house or in the street, has to be behind the threshold of the house. So they need to make the rules to help us a little bit better, I feel personally.
Thank you. Next question. What would the ideal solution to affordable housing in Mint Hill look like to you? And this question goes first to Mr. Holton.
It's funny because it seems like when you say affordable housing, it's an oxymoron right now, and it's not even just in Mint Hill. It's everywhere. If I had the answer, I wish I did, but I don't know what it is. And I think that's the reason that draws people here is because of the home value. I wish there was more affordable places. There's so many people right now that got locked into low interest loans a few years ago. I'm one of them. I could sell my house right now and make a lot of money, but where do I go? Where do I go? And there's a ton of people out there that are like that. So I wish I had the answer. I don't.
Thank you. Mr. Long?
I would echo what Patrick said on the affordable housing. I study this almost daily, and I have a heart for it. I've lived here all my life, otherwise I probably couldn't afford to live in Mint Hill. And actually, I've interviewed citizens at retail stores out in the parking lot, and I asked one gentleman, I said, what do you think about affordable housing? And I won't repeat the words he used. He said, no, I got mine, and I don't care. I don't want them here, whatever that means. I said, so you don't want the person serving you a meal to live here? He said, no, I do not. He said, I left the hood, and I'm where I want to be. So I know that's getting a little bit emotional, but that's sometimes it's a delicate subject.
Thank you. Mr. Swable, same question.
I don't know how you could bring affordable housing here, but what I think would be neat to see is a tiny home development that was put on by the town, and the process or proceeds from the tiny home development could be relocated back into the town. So that way it would be affordable housing for people, but it would also be a town profit as well to put back in to make more homes affordable for other people. And it wouldn't be like in an apartment where you're building upward and then creating more traffic on the roads. You'd be creating a certain amount of traffic to where you could control the amount of traffic you're having. That's what I think would be cool.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dalton?
Yes. As was stated earlier, it is a very good question, and how do you do it, and where do you build it? I think that would be the bigger issue. Where would you put it in Mint Hill affordable homes? And then if you do that, you're increasing a density in one area to a large amount of people. And then you're looking at, we don't have that many jobs other than retail that's in Mint Hill. Now we're looking at how we're going to get them into Charlotte or other surrounding areas to work and get back home. It's a lot deeper subject than just providing a home. As Tony said, I'm very fortunate to live here in Mint Hill. The house that I'm in, I couldn't afford now. And I'm very blessed to have it.
Okay, and Ms. Henderson?
Well, I too think that's a good question, and it is one that we don't really have an answer to. I think when we use the term affordable housing, I think it conjures up lots of images for people, and some not so positive. But I think at the end of the day, if we're talking about people being able to be a first-time home builder in town, that's something that we have to look at. How do we get to that place? Because the average home cost in Mint Hill in 2021 was $445,000. So if I'm graduating from college, I probably can't afford that. So we do have to look at how do we have homes that are feasible for people to live in, but not get caught on the term affordable housing, which I think has a connotation.
Thank you. And the next question which goes first to Mr. Swable. Do you plan to be active on social media and engage your constituents in a public forum?
Yeah, I'm already active on social media. I'm probably way too active on social media, which sometimes gets me into trouble, but I feel like social media is the bridge between the two. Most people don't want to come out to the town hall, to the meetings. They want to learn on social media. So if you have somebody who wants to try to bridge the gap, it would probably make the younger generation a lot happier because they ain't leaving the house. I hate leaving the house too sometimes. I get it. Amazon's great. Why not? But yes, social media, yeah, I'm always on it.
Okay. And do you plan to engage your constituents in the public forum?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And same question, Mr. Dalton?
No, I don't like being on social media. I do look at it, I patrol it, get a feel for what people are asking. I've had very bad experiences on it. You open up a floodgate of people debating against you or wanting to pick fights on social media, and I don't feel like you can never win on that because you're never going to get the last word. A lot of people don't even know what they're talking about, and I've even spoken to a few that say, I get on it and just throw something out there just to get a rise out of people. So it's just not a good. If you really want to know what's going on, you can call Town Hall at any time or go to our website. The answers are there. Every commissioner and mayor, we have our phone numbers, emails. You can call us at any time and we will get back to you for the answers you need.
Thank you. Ms. Henderson, same question.
I think we live in a technological society. We have to be active on social media in some ways. I think it's important to share information about things that are going on social media. I think it can be challenging to engage constituents via social media because it's just like when you send somebody a text and sometimes it never comes across the way you meant for it to come across. And I think that's what happens with social media. Am I going to be on TikTok? Maybe so. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Long, your answer, please.
It would mirror somewhat Commissioner Henderson. I understand at my age that I don't tend to do that as much. I do monitor social media, but I also think you don't get the tone of the conversation in electronic media. So I know it's for the younger people. I would much rather get our conversations from anyone. As Dale said, our cell numbers are on the website. I'm available. I always answer my phone. Someone in this room called me after I went to sleep recently and said, there's a road blocked. What do I do? And I was glad to take the call, and we got it resolved, thankfully. So call me, text me, come see me where I work. I'm around.
Thank you. And Mr. Dalton, same question. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Have we left anybody out? I've lost track. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hilton. That's what I meant. We're trying to do 2 or 3 things here. Yeah, Mr. Holton.
I could probably go on longer than 1 minute about social media right now. And the older I get, the more I'm distancing myself off of it for my own mental well-being. Beyond popular belief, we're not politicians, we're people. And it starts, I can only speak for myself, but there is just a lot of hate and a lot of nastiness out there on social media. And I take it personal and it hurts. So I've had to distance myself off of it for my own well-being. Because like Commissioner Henderson said, you can't convey emotion and sincerity. I've said it for 4 years. Every day of the week, I'm right up the street here. The door's open. I can't run and hide. Come see me. And you know what? A lot of people do. So I'm here. I'm accessible.
Thank you. Next question. If an employee of the town of Mint Hill sexually harassed a community member, how should the situation be addressed? And this question goes first to Mr. Long.
Great question. Now you're getting into HR and legal, and I would look toward our friend up here that's a lawyer, but I really, that should be handled in a proper manner, but it would have to go through HR and through the legal field to get proper treatment of the person that supposedly had been harassed or abused or whatever. It needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Ms. Henderson?
I agree. That would be something that would need to be handled through the proper channels. First, that employee would need to, that would need to be reported to that person's immediate direct report, and then following the procedures legally that need to be addressed in a situation like that. That's something that would not be, of course, tolerated. So that's something that definitely would need to be addressed through proper channels.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dalton?
I want to echo the same thing. It has to go to HR first, and until there's a charge or a formal complaint made, it's just hearsay, and that's between the person and HR.
Okay. And Mr. Holton?
I think, like they said, it's a great question, but it's a very complex question, and it's not one that generally would come up in front of the board. It's typically handled by, HR, lawyers, but it would definitely have to be dealt with.
Okay. And Mr. Swable?
First, it's not cool. The town's supposed to make people feel comfortable, not uncomfortable. It would have to go to HR, and then after that, the person should probably no longer work for the town.
Okay, thank you. This is our last question from the audience for tonight. What are your chief concerns regarding Mint Hill as a community, and what are some specific ways in which you would propose to address them? Would you like me to repeat the question? The first question goes to Mr. Holton.
Repeat that again?
Okay. What are your chief concerns regarding Mint Hill as a community? And what are some specific ways in which you would propose to address these chief concerns?
I think just like we talked about earlier, growth. Growth is a huge concern here in Mint Hill, making sure it's smart growth. I think the fact that we just concluded our land use plan, which gives us a roadmap for the next 10 years, is phenomenal. And I think honoring the amount of, we had so many volunteers that had their hands in on this land use plan for the future of Mint Hill. So I think following that land use plan and the vision of Mint Hill is one of my big concerns.
Thank you. Mr. Long?
Obviously, the one thing that keeps coming up is traffic, and we're limited in what we can do, but I think through control, which we've shown through the years, Mint Hill has always been known as somewhere it was difficult to develop, maybe not so much now as much. Another thing is just, as Patrick mentioned earlier, getting along with each other as a community, and I think what I've seen the town do in the last term or two that I've been here are these community events, whether it's a Saturday evening event where people get together that normally don't break bread or see each other, and it's an opportunity to mesh young people, older people, different cultures, and I believe that's healthy, and that's what we all need to be. We love each other. We all want to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Swable?
Infrastructure, the roads, the power, the sewer, the water, all of it needs to be upgraded. A lot of the older neighborhoods are on septics. Those are all starting to fail. It'd be nice to get septic out there or city sewer out there. The roadways need to be taken care of. There's potholes all over the place. And of course, roadway reflectors, which I've been harping on that for years. It's hard to see at nighttime. But the infrastructure needs to be concerned and addressed. And I know a lot of it has to do with the city of Charlotte, but Mint Hill needs to start hounding on the city of Charlotte. And that's where social media could come into play. We get the people on social media to start hounding the city of Charlotte through the media to try to get something done a little faster because traffic and power, I mean, we lose power all the time. It's horrible.
As a follow-up, your chief concern seems to be infrastructure with the roads. Do you have anything specific that you would do if elected to address this problem?
The intersection at Will Grove and True Light needs to go from a four-way stop to a stoplight. And there's a couple other that need stoplights instead of them four-way stops because all they do is create traffic problems and accidents all the time.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Henderson?
I think one of the chief concerns that is a concern that I hear from residents is, of course, managing growth while maintaining the historic character of Mint Hill. I think that's everyone's concern. And I think one of the ways we do that is by continuing to hear what residents want and getting them involved and participating. One of the things that I think is also important, and I've pretty much championed, is the repositioning of our e-notifications on our town website so the residents can kind of know what's going on via text or email. When it comes to different changes and meetings, town involvement, getting involved is going to be huge. Our goal is to represent the citizens, and we can't do that without citizens getting involved.
Thank you. And Mr. Dalton, the last answer to the last question is yours, so take it away.
Thank you. Again, growth is obviously the biggest concern to us and to the citizens. My thing is, and I've spent the last year trying to educate people what a by right build is versus just a condition, a regular build where somebody comes in, a developer. The mayor and I have sat in many meetings this past year, and we turned down so many developers that the people, it never makes it to the chamber to be voted on. We also do conditional zoning, and a perfect example is the Chick-fil-A across the street. The only reason they came in was conditional zoning because they needed a drive-through. If not, that would have been a by right. The property to the right of that was a regular build. They did not need our zoning, and they didn't come to us and didn't have to have it. But by giving conditional zoning, we got a red light there and the expansion of the road to a 3-lane for an extra turn lane. You have to basically work this system. If I give you a conditional zoning, I get this in return. We need to educate the people that we do not approve everything that comes through here. They don't see half of what comes through.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Everybody take a deep breath. We've finished the question. Okay, time for the closing statements. You have 30 seconds for your closer. And again, we'd like you to kind of not address any new issues and give us your vision. And we will begin with Mr. Dalton.
Again, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. We all up here, we all love our towns, we all live here, we all want the best for this town. I think you'll not do wrong by voting for any of us. I do ask that you would vote for me. I truly do love this job here. It's the only job I've ever had that every 2 years I have to reapply for it.
Thank you. Ms. Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. You've done an excellent job.
Thank
Don't
you.
count that for my time. To the voters of Mint Hill, I just want to say that I'm a person who is committed to collaborating with others in order to determine a common ground, to develop solutions, and to analyze information that'll benefit the town of Mint Hill. Your vote makes a difference. Your opinion matters. I respectfully ask for your vote and look forward to continuing to serve. And as I like to say, we are better together.
Thank you. And Mr. Holton?
Well, what can I say? Like I said earlier, I'm fortunate and blessed to be in a town that I can live, work, and play in. And I would hope to have the opportunity to serve another term to be a voice and serve the great people in the town here of Mint Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Long.
And I would ask for your vote as well to continue to serve you in one of the safest towns in the state of North Carolina. That goes to what Commissioner Henderson said. We have fantastic public servants who are there 24/7 watching over for us. And I'd also want to be here to encourage the young people to get involved. And I'm grateful that Matt stepped up. We need young people if this town's going to continue and we all enjoy a quality of life that we've taken for granted.
And last, we have Mr. Swable.
I want to thank everybody for coming out. I would love to have y'all's vote. The reason I'm running, I just want to keep it like Mint Hill is. I want to keep it fun. I love all the family fun night stuff. It's like a big giant family. Everybody in Mint Hill knows everyone. You can't go somewhere in Mint Hill and not know somebody. And I want to keep it that way so that when my son grows up, he can have the same experiences I had as a kid when I grew up in Mint Hill. That's what I want.
Thank you. So that concludes our questioning. We'll go to our closing. On behalf of the Mint Hill Women's Club and the League of Women Voters of Charlotte-Mecklenburg, we thank you, the candidates. You do a service to your voters. Special thanks go to you, our audience, for attending this special event. I think we are all much more knowledgeable about the issues and the candidates now. And we also want to thank Paige McKinney for her superb job as timekeeper. And finally, our appreciation goes to the Mint Hill Town Hall for the generous use of this beautiful facility. Please cast your vote for the candidates of your choice. And remember, you will need your ID to vote in this election. Good luck to the candidates and good night, everyone.